Hi, I'm Carol O'Mara, horticulture entomologist with Colorado State University Extension here in Boulder County. This spring has been a great one for warm weather and everybody's getting out and putting their gardens in. But one of the things we're running into, we get these seeds in the ground and they seem to take their sweet time coming up. The peas that we sowed a couple of weeks ago are only just now starting to poke their noses out. And the real problem is soil temperatures. What we're going to do today is take a look at how we can go ahead and get these soil temperatures to come up to where seeds need it to be to germinate. If you take a soil thermometer like this and plunge it into the ground approximately 4 to 6 inches where the seeds are going to go, you can see that the temperatures are just not coming up to 50, 55 degrees where they need to be. So let's take a look at a couple of techniques that we can use to raise temperatures and get those gardens off to a good jump start. One of the things that we can use is black plastic. Black plastic spread across the ground and held tightly to it is one of the most effective ways that we can warm the temperature before we start planting into the ground. What you're going to do is, if you're going to plant directly through it, you want to put your irrigation lines underneath. But if you're just trying to warm it up, you just lay it down and then you affix it all the way around so it doesn't blow. But this can be a little bit problematic for trying to use it in the garden. Let's look at a couple more earth-friendly ways that we can warm our soil. Two other ways that we can warm the garden soil before we're planting into them are walls of water or floating row covers. If you're going to go with floating row covers, what you want to look for is this light Reemay fabric. You can see here that it is really thin and porous. Sunlight comes through it, water can come through it, but it will give you the advantage of warming the soil by a few degrees. So if you've sowed your seeds into the ground underneath, you can tuck them in with a light covering of this Reemay fabric and then staple it down so it doesn't blow around. What we're going to use to staple it are these earth staples. These are, you can get them in different lengths, 4, 6, 8 inches if you need them to be. And then you just hammer them directly through the cloth. Roll the edges of this Reemay fabric, the floating row cover, so it has a little bit to bite into, and then take a little hammer and you can put these in the ground. By doing this, the row cover is secure in place, and it's going to keep those seeds nice and warm even if we start getting some fluctuating spring temperatures. Make sure you do the edges. So it's secure all the way around. Once the seedlings jump up underneath, you'll want to take this row cover off, especially once we get into some more balmy weather as we enter into May. If you have a larger plant to put in the ground and you're not sowing seeds, but your plants are pretty frost sensitive, like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and you want to get that jump start so you can be the first on your block to get a tomato, consider putting in these walls of water. These water walls are basically a series of chambers into which we've poured water, and they hold the temperature inside at a nice couple of degrees above freezing should we get another cold front that comes through. They're a heavy-duty plastic, and there's a little bit of a trick to putting them out if you don't want to get your feet soaking. Take a bucket and set it down in the area where you're going to be planting your seedling. Then slide the wall of water over them so that it holds it up like a form. If you're using one of these small watering cans that have a pointed snout, it's going to make it a lot easier. Take it from me, getting your feet soaking wet when the temperatures are only 45 to 50 degrees out is no fun as a gardener. And if you can do this, then you won't get such a mess. Open up the walls and start filling the chambers. If you can, move back and forth across the side so that the whole thing fills evenly and you don't have it trying to pull away from you. As you work your way around, you'll be able to fill these chambers much more rapidly. In this way, the bucket holds it rather than trying to brace this with your legs. If you have a problem with algae building up in it, you can put just a light amount of bleach in the wall of water, but I wouldn't put too much because you are going to dump this back out onto the soil and you don't want to burn your plants. Moving your way around it. Then when it's full, you move the bucket out of the way so you can plant into it. You slide it up nice and slow, and you've got your wall of water set up. One secret to putting your seedlings in the ground, especially if you're doing it before the soil temperatures are even starting to come up, is to go ahead and lay that black plastic we just looked at down on the ground for a minimum of 7 days before you come out, take that off, and put in your walls of water. In that way, they can go ahead and warm your soil. Also, what you can do is set these up and let them stand for a week before you put those precious seedlings in the ground. If you stick them in cold soil, trust me, they'll sit there and sulk, and they're going to stare at you and not grow at all.